Minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It's time for Winging It. Brad Bursma is in the studio to answer your questions about what it takes to become a pilot and what you need to know about flying an airplane. He, of course, comes in from Ocala Aviation Flight School and is a certified pilot himself. I don't know that I mentioned that enough. And I think you're the manager, aren't you, Brad?
Yes, I am.
And Josh is not here today. Where's Josh? Good morning.
Josh is flying with a student. He had a student that had extensive knee surgery back about a month ago, so he's been out for a few months.
Oh, wow.
And he's finally back, and we needed to get him up flying, so Josh is doing his instructor duties in flying today.
Do you know something I don't know?
What is something you don't know?
You know, I took that little Discovery flight.
Yes.
What like on a car you have the accelerator pedal. Where is the equivalent on a plane? Is it on the floor?
Near the throttle.
The throttle is on your hand? Okay.
Yes.
So you don't really work it the way you do a car. You don't.
Not even close. No.
You just get it. You get it where it needs to be, and it stays there.
Pretty much. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're just flying, you know, on a cross country, you know, from here to Gainesville or something, you put the throttle in and pretty much leave it there.
So when you're taking off, you literally give it everything, and then you stay there the rest of the time?
No.
Oh,
when
okay.
you take off, you do give it everything.
Okay.
And then once you're airborne, and then you start adjusting it depending on, you know, if you're climbing, if you're trying to level out, that kind of stuff, and you pull it back as you're flying. You don't need to go full throttle the whole time. You'll destroy it.
Does more speed get you more altitude? Not necessarily.
Does more speed? Well, I mean, there's different things that are going to affect it, and you know, you have your rate of climb, and there's different ways that you're going to get there. Now, obviously, if you're able to go faster, like in the faster planes, obviously they're going to climb faster. But usually, you know, we'll fly at 500 to 1,000 feet per minute, and so you're burning more gas. Also, the faster you're trying to go up. So,
okay, so
there's a lot of factors going into it. It's not just give it gas, get to 3,000 feet, and go.
Okay, so let me ask you it a different way.
Okay.
Does the speed change the angle at which you increase in altitude?
No,
not at all. Okay.
No, you just change the sometimes you want to get it faster. So if you pitch it fast, pitch it higher. Let's say you were at 500 feet per minute and you want to go 1,000 feet per minute. You're gonna have to give it. You're gonna have to actually pull back a little bit so that you get a steeper angle, and then you're gonna have to give it more thrust, or more so that you can go. Because the
reason I'm asking is because when you are doing that flight simulator on a computer, that circle that shows the horizon.
Okay.
I guess the black is the bottom part, right?
Yes.
So if the black goes away totally, then you're pretty much looking straight into the sky, aren't you?
And you're most likely going to stall. Yeah.
You're going to stall or flip over or something, right?
Well, you won't. Well, yeah, but most planes aren't going to flip over.
On the computer, they do.
I'm sure they do. Well, that's one of the issues is with the flight simulators. I've had people come in and say, "Well, I know I can fly because I do it on the flight simulator," and it's not the same thing.
Well, I know I can't fly because I have never landed on the flight simulator in a way that I would want to land on a real plane. I've crashed usually. Well,
and the thing is on a flight simulator, it's okay if you crash.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, so you don't always take it as seriously as you would as if you were obviously flying in a real plane.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we make sure you have the training before you would go up to try and land.
So were you before you're a pretty young guy? So flight simulators on computers were around before you were flying. Am I right about that? No?
Well, before I was flying? Oh, well, flight simulators have been around for quite a while.
But I mean accessible to the consumer like you can do now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I only started flying...
But I mean, did you ever use one? Did you ever use a... No, okay.
No. Nope, never had a desire to use one. No, I mean, like I said, you've had flight simulators for actual training out for a long time, but they're a lot different than what you, like, Microsoft 7 or whatever, or 10,
So what is your story? How did you become interested in flying?
That's a completely different story. I actually was never one that grew up wanting to fly or anything like that. I was a corporate guy. I worked for a corporate job and ended up never seeing my family. And Ron, owned the flight school and had offered me a job to kind of take over, do marketing and that kind of stuff for him. And it just kind of went from there. And I ended up staying and doing a lot more work and flying. And
oh, so once you got the job, you said, well, I should learn how to fly.
Well, then I started flying, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where a lot of my instructors, I mean, they grow up. I mean, they're 2 years old staring at the sky, and that's one dream that makes them so good. Is it's not something that was just a whim to them or a second thought or, oh, well, I don't have a career, so I'm going to go for this. This is these people that have been dreaming of doing it and wanting to do it, because you have to be very committed to go all the way through it. Now, if you've got a student out there that just wants to go for private, allows you just to fly for fun, fly friends and family, it's not something you have to, I mean, you want to be committed while you're training, but it's not something you have to do lifelong or worry about constantly and that kind of stuff. And being in Florida, there's a lot of things that you can do as a private pilot. I mean, there are so many airports in Florida that most people don't even realize. Plus, you have advantages of going down like to the Keys. It's much nicer to get in a plane, know it's going to take you 2.5 to 3 hours, as opposed to it could take you 5, 8, 10 hours. You never really know when you're driving because you don't know how many accidents you're going to run into.
When there's an airplane crash, they always talk about the black box. I have two questions about that black box. One is, do they ever use it for something other than a crash? And the second question is, do they exist in the smaller planes?
No. Yeah. Okay.
No to the second one.
Yeah. In the plane we have what's called an ELT, and that's an electronic locating transmitter. So if a plane gets jarred, okay, like if it crashes, I don't like to say that word, but if it does crash, then it actually sends out a signal that allows emergency crews to find the plane. We don't, a lot of the bigger planes have the voice recorders, which are in the black box, and they're recording all the different stuff that's going on with the planes.
Right. Okay.
And there's a lot more to record. Whereas in the small planes, you just...
Okay. So then the first question, do they ever use that black box for something other than a crash? I mean, do they ever, listen to it just,
Not that I know of.
Do they have to erase it every flight?
I have no idea.
Huh.
I honestly don't know how the black boxes work. I've never experienced black boxes.
And why
you always hear things, well, why don't they build planes out of black boxes? Well, it's not the same thing. I mean, it's like you can take a brick and drop it and it doesn't break. Well, it doesn't mean you're going to build everything out of a brick. I mean, they're built to be that way. If you try to build a plane out of the same material and the same thickness and all this, the plane would never get off the ground. It would not be aerodynamic,
Right. Well, I used to think that when I was a kid, I used to think the same thing about Matchbox cars, because you could throw a Matchbox car at a wall and it would be fine. I used to say, why don't they make real cars out of this stuff? Well, same thing.
Well, first off, you're throwing it at a wall, and how fast are you throwing as opposed to when it's actually driving?
Well, in scale miles per hour, it's got to be pretty fast.
Well, that's true. But how much would it weigh?
It would be huge.
Exactly.
I mean, the door would be 3 feet thick or something.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. And that's kind of like when the vice president came in, we got to see his motorcade, and they had to open the door, and the windows were ridiculously thick.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
They're
extremely thick.
They're everything proof. They're bulletproof, missile proof.
Yeah.
Drone proof, maybe. All right, let's go to the phone. The phone line is something I should have mentioned earlier. You are invited as a listener to be part of the show and to speak to Brad. The number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-WOCA. Good morning. You're on the air with Brad.
Good morning, Brad. This is Sonny calling.
Larry.
It wasn't all that long ago where automobiles had throttles. I can remember as a youngster, I didn't drive then, but I certainly remember going to the beach, and I was invited with by a friend and his family to go with them, and their car had a throttle, and get on the good old Grand Central Parkway, heading east out onto Long Island. He pulled the throttle out, and at that time the speed limit on the Grand Central Parkway was 45.
Yeah.
There was a lot more curves and stuff in it at that time, and it was only 2 lanes either way. But basically, it more or less kept it at 45. If you went uphill, it slowed down to 40 or even a little slower. You went down the other side of that hill, you were speeding. So now the throttle used to be a viable thing on cars, but now that was replaced by the cruise control, which I use almost every day. If I get on an open, say, 60th Avenue, I put that cruise control on because I want to pay attention to what's going on around me and what's in front of me, not what's the needles doing on the dashboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cruise control is definitely helpful.
I could assume that once you're at a certain altitude flying, that principle would still be adhered to. You would leave that throttle at the optimum setting for whatever speed you want to do, airspeed, and so that you'd be able to pay more attention to your instruments and what's around you.
Well, it's not even just that you have to be able to pay attention to everything else. With the throttle, I mean, it stays where it is. If accelerate on a car, if you take your foot off of it, it lets off. With a throttle, it just stays right where it is. So it's the advantage of, I mean, that's just the way it's programmed, is it stays in place because you couldn't keep your hand on it the whole time. That's what the throttle did in the automobile. You would pull it out and then give it a little quarter turn to the right, and it would lock it in that position. And the engine would try to stay at, say, 2,200 RPM, and if you went down the hill, there would be less load, so you would speed up, and conversely going uphill. Interesting. Yeah, it definitely sounds a lot like a cruise control. Just kind of more of a... Yeah, but it does. But the cruise control, my cruise control, works going uphill. It'll keep it at 65, 70, or whatever the speed I'm doing, and then the same thing going downhill. Yeah. Actually, but the throttle is just a throttle or a butterfly positioning instrument. But anyhow, I enjoy your program, and if I was a little younger, I think I'd look into getting a license just to do what you said. Be able to fly in an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours to some destination, visit and whatever, come home. You get to see a lot more that way. Yes, you do. Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Have a great weekend, and I'm probably going to try one of your flights. I don't know how you feel about somebody that probably couldn't get a pilot's license. Well, that's great. You don't have to be able to get one. You can come out, and we'll take you up on a discovery flight. Yeah, you don't have to even have plans to ever get a license. You can come up just to want to see what the experience is like. That's not an issue. We welcome you to come in. All right. That sounds like a deal. Well, you'll enjoy it, Sonny. All righty. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you. Have a great weekend, guys. You too. I enjoyed the program. Thank you, WOCA. Thank you, Sonny. And the secondary point of that is that he'll tell somebody, and maybe that person will. Exactly. Yeah, and it's you do hope for word of mouth and that kind of thing, but it's just nice to see to let somebody experience it, because it's one of those things that you don't ever really think that you'll be able to do. And so if you have the opportunity to come out and you get to actually take the controls and you get to fly the plane, and you get away from the flight simulator and actually do it for real, it's a lot of fun. Well, here's just my little. What I got out of it. When I used to fly a lot out of Tampa and Orlando, and when I would head north, I would look out of the jet and look down and try to figure out, hey, where's my house? Try to find something. And you're way up there. Yeah, it's kind of hard. Even though you're taking off kind of close, by the time you get over Ocala, you're up there, right? I don't know if you're completely, but you're pretty high. But in the little plane with the Discovery flight, I mean, you could see the Cascades. Oh, yeah. I mean, Ron flew right over the Cascades. So it was very cool to be able to see very clearly that what you can see from a low altitude. Well, absolutely, and you can take pictures of your house, or it's a lot of fun. And in fact, speaking of the what do you call that simulator thing? It just as a game, as a fun thing to play. I never use the jets because you can't see anything. Yeah, I use the Wright Brothers plane because it's the lowest one. It's the one that flies closest to the ground. All right, let's go back to the phone. Good morning. You're on the air with Brad. Hi. You just reminded me something again. The flight simulators after World War II, going into the 50s, the old flight simulators where you would look like a plane and you got in it and they pulled the hood over. A lot of those were wound up in amusement parks, and you could jump. You paid a deal, and for a couple of minutes you would be trying to fly a plane in this thing, and they tell you the instruments and so on and so forth, try to keep it horizontal and on the flying level. And I think because they were so maintenance intensive, they didn't last all that long, but they were out there. I remember one in a place called the Jolly Roger on Long Island. They had one there for a while. Very cool. That was really fun. Sounds like it. All righty. Again, thank you, sir. Great programming, and thanks again, everybody. Thank you. Well, you know, it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, this is that kind of experience where you can get up, but you actually get to get in the plane and do it. So, and people are welcome to go with you. You can have friends, you know, or a friend ride in the back, take pictures of you flying. You know, it's definitely something you can take pictures of, put up on computer, and send out Christmas cards and birthday cards. I don't know, whatever.
Have you ever jumped? Have you ever done a parachute?
No.
No. Do you want to?
No. I don't really see a point in it. I mean, I'm sure it's an adrenaline rush and all that, but no, not really.
Good morning. You're on the air with Brad.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
See, are there a lot of, in Ocala, plane rental situations where you can rent the plane?
There's not a lot. There's us. So, yes, there's great plane rentals in Ocala.
There is?
Yes.
Is it pretty expensive, or...?
No, I mean, it's the way that we do it is, you know, let's say you go and you get your license, or you have a license, you want to rent a plane.
Right.
It's based on flight time. So let's say you were going to go from here to St. Augustine and have lunch and then fly back.
Yeah.
You're paying for your flight time. You're not paying for your ground time. So if you're going to go over there, have lunch, fly back, you're looking at about an hour. So you're going to be looking between about 100 to 120 to do the flight.
Right, right. Are there a lot of clubs where people join, several people get together and like own one plane?
There's a few clubs like that in Ocala, yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, okay, and that would be kind of nice too, because I would imagine, you know, planes are not cheap, right, and maintenance and everything else. And
exactly.
Then you got to have a hangar, I suppose, or a place to park them. So it's, you know, you don't almost have to go that route. But there are rental places though in town here. Yeah,
there's a lot of options that you can do. You know, a lot of people think that if they get their license, they have to buy a plane, and you don't. You can do a club. You can rent.
Yeah.
You know, what we recommend is you don't want to buy a plane unless you're going to be flying about 15 hours a month, because then you're just spending too much on everything else.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good rule of thumb to know. I don't know that I'll ever be in that position. But.
Yeah, well, and that's, you know, when we have a student say, I want to buy a plane, then we start sitting down and figuring out, okay, why do you want to buy a plane? And then you want to figure out which is the right one, because sometimes a student will have a plane in their mind, and it's not the right one for them. You know, they just, oh, that's a pretty plane. Well, that's not, you know, or I want to carry people, then that's not the good plane for you. So we try and help, you know, if a student really wants to buy one, we try and make sure they're going to buy the one that's best suited for them.
Do the planes all have names? The ones that you guys rent out?
Names?
Well, Dan comes back and he says he flew Papa Charlie. What does that mean?
That's the identifiers. Okay,
so that's the name
tail
of that
number.
plane, right?
Well, it's not the name of the plane. That's the tail number.
Okay.
Like, it's November 739 Papa Charlie. So it's N739PC. That's the tail number. That's the identifier. So when you're flying, you contact the tower. They know who you are. When you're flying, you contact other planes, and they can see your tail number and know who you are.
But there's only one, right? There's only one Papa Charlie?
Well, no, there's multiple Papa Charlies. There's only one 739 Papa Charlie.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's kind of like a license plate for your car. I mean, you've only got, you know, they'll go in an order, and, you know, you can change the tail number just like you can change your registration on your car, you know, the license plate. But you can't just... You have to go to the FAA and have it changed and that kind of stuff. But a lot of them, like Papa Charlie, that's the original number on it. So you can actually tell, you know, when it was made and that kind of stuff. Like we had 739 November Kilo. That was one of our old planes. So those two were very closely built together.
November Kilo.
Mm-hmm.
But is there more than one November Kilo?
Well, there's going to be more than everything.
Okay, but at your airport, though, is there more?
Oh, at our airport? Yeah. No, there's only one.
There's only one Papa Charlie.
There's only, well, from what I know, but I don't think there's, but like you got a lot
of... But
there
could be.
Well, yeah, but like you have a lot of Juliet Tangos. Like John Travolta, I think almost all of his planes end in Juliet Tango. So what you would do is say the number before that. Like you would actually say 9 Papa Charlie or 9 Juliet Tango if there's multiple on the airport. Or like there's a lot of Delta Alphas. And Delta Alphas... And
is it just a coincidence that his is JT, or is that something he?
I'm sure that's
paid for.
Yes, I'm sure that's on. I'm sure it's on purpose.
Okay.
Yes, but that's the Delta Alphas is a school down south, and they have Delta Alphas, and so you know when they come in, you hear Delta Alpha, you know, but it's usually 8 Delta Alpha or 7 Delta Alpha because you don't have to say the whole one unless there's somebody else in the air. Sometimes you will hear. Another Papa Charlie, so you'll say 739 Papa Charlie, and that way you know. But when you come in on my airport and you say, hey, I'm going to rent Papa Charlie, I know which one you're talking about because it's obviously my plane.
Right, and that's the one that had an incident with the spark plug, right? No?
Incident with the spark plug?
I thought the spark plug blew out or something.
Oh. Yeah. Well, we figured out that Dan is a curse and everything he touches breaks, and apparently he's now giving that to his instructor too.
Oh no!
And so it's a lot of things on the planes are not actually very major. It's just our planes get used a lot, and so you have to just do a lot of maintenance on them to keep them up running efficiently,
right.
and making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And sometimes you have battery issues. Sometimes people leave the starter or the master switch on. It's like leaving your car on, and the batteries run down.
Oh, that's not good.
No, and students tend to do that a lot. They get excited, they get out of the plane, and they just kind of walk away and leave it on. It's not on like running, but it just runs the batteries down because the equipment's still on.
Is the radio afar? Afar? What?
Afar? It's afar.
Does the radio broadcast a long distance? The radio in the. In other words, how far are you? Do you need? How close do you need to be to the airport for the airport to hear you?
It all depends on how high you are.
Oh.
But generally you can start hearing about 15, 20 miles out at least. Like that's when you turn it on. We start reporting. Like if you're going to an airport, you start reporting. And actually, it's even farther than that because when you're going into Class B airspace, you're going to start talking to them at 30 miles out. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go pretty far, yeah.
Now, when you go online and you're trying to trace a friend who's flying to Florida from Michigan, let's say, and you go to this map and it shows you the dots and you find the dot with his flight.
It doesn't work like that.
It does work like that.
No, it does not.
No?
No.
I've seen it online.
Okay, but
how does that website know where these planes are?
Well,
that was.
Oh, you're talking about like a commercial aircraft.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a private aircraft. I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Well, a private aircraft, like you can put in somebody's tail number, and it will tell you if they've filed flight following or if they filed a flight plan. It'll tell you where they're at.
Okay.
And that's just because they send out the transponders, they send out radio signals, and so I'm not sure which website you're looking at, but you can just get the information. I mean, it's not they're sending out signals; they have to.
So is it an actual location of where the plane is, or about where it should be based on the flight plan?
No, it's an actual because
Really?
you have your transponder. Your transponder is going to show where you're at. And there's different kinds of transponders, and there's.
so now, not to bring up the worst aviation story ever with 9/11, but when those planes went off course, I don't know if the internet had that feature at that time, but I mean, could any of us have seen that it was? In other words, the stories we heard was that the air traffic control radar knew something was up because these planes weren't on course.
Yeah.
Okay. Could I have known that looking at that website?
I don't know. I don't know the website. I don't know what it was doing back that long ago. But also, you wouldn't know it was off course. I mean, depending on the website, I don't think the website's going to tell you the course necessarily, may show you where it's going. I don't know. Like I said, because with FlightAware, which is one we use to track of our planes, it tells us where the planes are supposed to be going. So okay, this plane is supposed to be going to Ocala. This is its course.
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes, too, you'll see a plane, and it's supposed to be going to Orlando, and it's not even close to Orlando, but sometimes it has to be diverted because of weather. And so you don't know. It doesn't tell you why they diverted. Why they're going in a big loop.
That's true.
And so, but you see that a lot, where our planes don't go in a straight line. They go around weather, or they go around,
That's true, yeah.
traffic or whatever. So it's very hard to tell.
So you might not have known.
No, you'd have no idea.
If I was in L.A. waiting for my friend to come from Boston that day, and I saw the plane going down to New York, I would have said, well, I guess it's just going around a storm or something.
Oh, well, with those planes, they're not going to go around ones like we would. But, you wouldn't know why it's moving,
Right.
you know what I mean? And there's so many, yeah.
Well, and that was, 2001, and
yeah,
computers have changed a lot in that little bit of time.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of tracking. Like I said, I wasn't flying in 2001, so I don't really know what those sites did, or even which site you're talking about exactly. But there's a lot more information out there.
I'll find it for you and share it with you.
Yeah. But like I said, like if Dan tells you he's going to go on a cross country today, we say, okay, Dan, make sure you file file your flight plan. You could actually go on and you could say, hey, where's Dan? And you could find out where he's at.
And it would tell you really where he's at, not just where he's supposed to be at. Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have a question for Brad.
Okay.
Did you ever hear of the BD5?
The BB5.
No, B as in boy, D as in Delta, 5.
No, what is the BD5?
Oh, it's a very small jet, and it was featured in one of the Bond films.
Oh, okay.
They actually flew it through the hangar and did a lot of crazy stuff with it.
Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about.
But, I mean, this thing is, you could put this thing in the lobby at WOCA right there.
Uh-huh.
I think it would fit through the doors. The wingspan was ridiculously small, and it had a small jet engine in it, and the thing was very, it was flyable for an experienced pilot.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see or hear them anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm recalling the one that you're talking about from the movie, but, I don't know if it's one of those that you just... I'm sure there's reasons of why you don't see too many of them anymore.
Well, I was just curious, but that would be... I mean, that makes Piper Cub look gigantic.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's how small this thing is.
Yep.
Well, it was just a question. Thought about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, I didn't find the actual one that I've seen before. There's a tiny one right there. That's nowhere near what I was talking about. But
okay.
It basically just shows you the dot. That shows little airplanes, but usually it shows a dot. And when you put the cursor over the dot, it tells you what the flight is. And I'll find it and I'll share it with you.
Okay.
Wow, the half hour went quick.
Yes, it did.
You had a show all about airplanes today.
That's amazing. We decided new year, got to get back on track, talk about planes instead of everything else. So.
There you go. Well, good show. Brad, how do we get a discovery flight or take lessons? How do we get a hold of you?
You call 352-861-7484. You can also send me an email at ocalaviation@yahoo.com.
All right. Call us if you need any of that repeated. Have a great weekend, Brad.
Thanks, sir. You too.
Thank you. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Unemployment held steady at 7.8% in December, according to the Labor Department, but the economy created 155,000 new jobs, about what analysts expected. The November rate, originally reported as 7.7, was revised upward to 7.8. On the first day of the new session of Congress, one member said she felt like she'd arrived at a dinner party where the hosts were fighting. House members re-elected John Boehner yesterday, but several members voted against him. Flood insurance money left dangling over the fiscal cliff after tax hikes were pulled back from it may start flowing to Sandy victims soon. Congress today takes up the bill that would provide nearly $10 billion in relief. Some of your favorite websites may be selling you out. The Wall Street Journal is out with a list of 50 popular websites that it says secretly send your personal information to other sites with no encoding, including YouTube, Expedia, Pinterest, and Yahoo. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is said to be eager to get back to work next week after recovering from a blood clot. Aides say she won't be flying for a while. This is ABC News.
At Advance Auto Parts, we don't do anything just part way. We go full throttle. We don't just sell batteries. Oh, no. We install them fast and free with purchase on most vehicles. And we mean fast. If strapping on an experimental jetpack would help us install your battery any faster, we'd do it. Unfortunately, jetpacks can be squirrely. Too bad, because we really wanted those things. Fast, free battery installation at Advance. Service is our best part.
Advance Auto Parts.
Jay with Safelite Auto Glass.
You think all auto glass companies are the same? Well, they're not. And here's why. Safelite offers all-day Saturday service. So we're there when you need us, even on the weekends. Because you can't predict when you'll need a repair or a replacement. Plus, our work is backed by the only national lifetime guarantee.
Just tell your insurance company you want Safelite or call 1-800-800-2727 or go to safelite.com.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source, 1370 a.m. and the new 96.7 FM.
This is Wendy and Will of Dex Imaging. By now, you might be tired of hearing us talk about Dex. So instead of us telling you how much Dex can save you on your copier costs and how we can help your office be more efficient, we thought we'd let Judy tell you.
Hi, I'm Judy, the office manager of Graper Facial Institute here in Gainesville. We operate 8 medical offices, so I was looking for a document management system that would copy, scan, print, and share documents among all of our locations, but something that was within our budget. Dex Imaging recommended a Kyocera with their Index solution. It's been a amazing. This machine does everything we need it to, including a direct scan into our current electronic medical record software. Dex even trained us on how to use it. Dex has been a tremendous help in making our practice and my job more efficient.
Thanks, Judy. And remember, call Dex Imaging today for a free workflow analysis to find out how you can save 20 to 30% on your copying and document management needs, just like Graper Facial Institute. Dex Imaging, 352-224-1816. That's 224-1816.
Hi, I'm Dr. Terry Compton, inviting you to join us on the Voice of Ocala to discuss a painful subject, pain, not a one-size-fits-all pain, because pain is very personal and comes in all forms. That's why we need to talk about where you're hurting, and we can find out why.